up, ladies and gentlemen? Aquilon here, and welcome back to each and one of you. And of course, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for joining us. I am very happy to have you here. In today's video, you are watching a live speculation video. We do those every Sunday on YouTube. The link, well, you're on YouTube, so you should just be here on Sundays to have a crack at the live conversations that we have. 4 hours of absolute loregasm. That's pretty much what the Sunday Night Chill Show consists of. But in this video, I took a very long look and we had a massive discussion with the rest of the Discord and the Discord Lore Council about the Void and how maybe, just maybe, it is mortals like you and me, mortals not just from Azeroth, but all out in the Great Beyond, that opened the door for the very first time to the Void and allowed the Void to make their way into reality. Now, of course, there is more to this theory, and you're going to have to watch the whole video to get all of it, but the TLDR effectively is that we opened the door. If you want to know how, keep watching, I guess. Also, remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and smash that bell if you like the content that we put out. If you don't like the content we put out, hit that dislike button and never return to the channel. It's as simple as that. Anyways, did I say that I stream on Twitch? Because I do stream on Twitch, and you should absolutely join us on Twitch. The link should also be in the description down below. Enjoy the video. There's a little theory that I could share with all of you right now. This is something that Tasty came up with, which we thought was rather interesting. And the reason I told you about this first theory, the one about the Nathrezim, is because this sort of makes this theory make even more sense. Now, we know that the Nathrezim uses the Twisting Nether to get around, right? We kind of believe that the Twisting Nether is sort of a hyper time gate for the Nathrezim. If they need to cross massive differences in a very short time, they can do so by entering the Twisting Nether and then moving at their own pace, you know, to quickly cross thousands and thousands of kilometers within no time whatsoever, since we do know that the Twisting Nether time functions differently within the Twisting Nether than what it does on Azeroth. So Tasty actually came up with a very interesting theory. What if I were to tell you that the race that first invited the Void Lords into our reality is the exact same race that is now pretty much situated in every single one of our societies? We're talking about the Ethereals. Just FYI, for those of you that wasn't necessarily following along. The Ethereals isn't just a race of people that existed. They are the Void incarnate. The bindings that we were told is... remember, everything we know about the Ethereals actually comes from the Ethereals. Very few things about the Ethereals is known outside of what they tell us. They told us how their world got destroyed, but there was something interesting in it for us. For us, this was very interesting. So it says that Dimensius arrives on their world. And as soon as he arrives, he opens an immeasurable amount of portals to two areas. To the Void, and for some fucking reason, to the Twisting Nether. Now, I ask you guys this. Why? Why would a Void Lord open a whole slew of portals to the Void and to the Twisting Nether? The Void part makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not all of a sudden trying to suggest that Void Lords don't come from the Void. But why open a portal to the Twisting Nether? The Nathrezim. See, we are told that it was thanks to the experiments and the things that the race that eventually became the Ethereals. It's thanks to the immense amount of arcane power that they sort of put out into the universe that all of this happened. The Void Lords detected this immense amount of power. And this drew the Void Lord, Dimensius, to that planet. And of course, there's something very interesting about this race, and you have to understand just how incredibly powerful the Ethereals actually were, this race. Now, what is interesting is that this wasn't the only race of this planet. We're told that this was one of the races. You have a Void Lord that is attacking. We are talking about a thing that eats reality. It eats matter. It consumes it. And in an effort to save their cities, they place barriers around these cities. And these barriers not only work, these barriers slow Dimensius to a fucking crawl. Dimensius can't get through the barriers. He can't destroy the barriers to get to the cities. So how powerful is this race actually? Now, of course, this is where we're told that these barriers that they erected worked, partly. It did slow down Dimensius, but the immense amount of arcane energy that emanated from these barriers actually dissolved their matter. I think this is where they started to lie a little bit. I believe the Ethereal race, the race that would become the Ethereals, they were dabbling in void magic. It's fitting as well that it is currently an Ethereal that is teaching Illyria how to channel the void. Also interesting that the Ethereals run things like void storage. They seem to be intimately familiar with void magic and with the inner workings of the void. And yet we're told that they were actually creatures of arcane. We're told that they are actually creatures of arcane. So how in the fuck does all of this fit together? And why were they destroyed? This is where the big thing for us came in. The portals that they created, right? Dimensius arrives and he creates these portals to the Twisting Nether and to the Void. Makes no sense. He's not of the Twisting Nether. The Void doesn't use the magic or the damage or the energy of the Twisting Nether. He creates these portals because of the ones who directed him there. The Nathrezim. What do you think a race would do? What do you think a race would do, or how powerful do you think a race would have to be able to stop a Void Lord? I mean, do you think any one of us on Azeroth, do you think with all of the trouble that an old god put us through, we're talking just old gods here, the amount of trouble that they put us through, do you think we could fucking stop an actual Void Lord? We don't have the power. We don't have the advancements. An actual Void Lord would destroy us in no time flat. They managed to stop this thing. See, this is where the Nathrezim come in. This is what the Nathrezim does. When they realized that there is a race as advanced as the Ethereals, that race has to be put on hold, on ice, if you will. So they send a Void Lord. Now, I'm trying to explain to you how the Nathrezim actually function, how the Nathrezim actually work. You see, they don't take sides. The Nathrezim doesn't care who wins, right? They don't care who wins. They're not out there to claim the victory for themselves. They are simply there to keep the balance. This is the only thing that they are worried about. If something becomes too powerful, be it a cosmological force, be it a planet full of mortals, something becomes a little bit too powerful, they step in. And how do they step in? They step in by using the cosmological forces. At that point, Void was a little bit perhaps underdeveloped. The Void Covenant was struggling, especially if I'm correct, and the war between death, life, and order actually beat the Void down. They went to the Void and they said, hey, this planet, go consume it. It's yours. So the Void Lord opening these portals to the Twisting Nether was actually because of the Nathrezim. He was summoning the Nathrezim to help him. Because remember, the Nathrezim has infiltrated every single one of the universes. Every single one of the cosmological forces have been infiltrated by the Nathrezim. Yeah, Royes, effectively, they micromanage. This is what the Nathrezim do. They run around from planet to planet, from cosmos to cosmos, and all they do is they micromanage everything. And they do this because of Azeroth. They do this because of Azeroth. They are simply trying to do the job that they were created to do. To restore or to maintain balance within the universe until such time that Azeroth can be awakened. This is why we see them involved with absolutely everything. And just to very quickly explain to you guys why I don't believe that the Nathrezim is working with death. Why I don't think that they are working specifically for death. They interfered with nothing that Ner'zhul was doing. Arthas was around, and yet the Nathrezim didn't help him. They come and go. They don't seem to stick with one, shall we say, group for too long. Not only that, we now have actual confirmation that Frostmourne wasn't provided to the Nathrezim. It was, in fact, stolen by the Nathrezim. Steve Denuser, in his recent article, in his recent interview, actually confirmed this. The helm, the blade, it wasn't part of the jailer's ultimate plan. He actually, I believe, wanted to use that helm and the blade in order to destroy the Shadowlands. He had to make do. Because once the Nathrezim stole the helm and the blade, he now had to change his plans. But he's been planning this for a very long time. This guy has been planning it for a very long time. He knows what he's doing, and he will bide his time. He will wait. We also might believe at this point that the Primus, the deal that the Primus stroke, remember, we're told in Steve Denuser's article or interview that the Primus struck a deal with someone who, we don't know who, but with someone, and that this deal was actually struck to teach him the ways of time. They taught him, whoever this thing is that taught him how to look through the different timelines. According to us, the Nathrezim would fit this. The Nathrezim does appear to be an extremely obscure race of being. If you think about it, we still don't know anything about the Nathrezim. Do we? Think about it. If I tell you right now who is the Nathrezim, none of you can truly tell me. None of us can truly even guess who the Nathrezim is. And yet, they still somehow seem to have control over everything in one way or another. Like a little bit of everything. They don't necessarily excel in any one thing, but they seem to be able to do a little bit of everything. Now, it is interesting. And just to give a little bit more credence to the original theory that I had here when we started this conversation. Every single creation has less power or less ability to control than the previous creation. Think about the first ones and the things that they made. Then you think about the Titans and the things that they made. The first one's creations actually sort of functioned. The Eternal ones sort of, kind of functioned. But everything the Eternal ones make, everything the Titans make, seems to be a little bit broken. Doesn't seem to work as well as it should. And then, of course, you look at the things that the creations of the Titans try and do, and that, well, leads to Galakrond. You kind of have to think in terms of what is it that we're ultimately meant to do here? And how exactly is all of this meant to function? And of course, when it comes to the story of the Nathrezim, this is actually where this entire theory started, with the Nathrezim infiltrating the Scarlet Crusade. At the time, the light was nothing. At the time, the light did not matter. People were turning their backs on the light. And then with the invasion of the Nathrezim into the Scarlet Crusade, all of a sudden, the light became everything. The light turned into a religion, a massive religion that everyone believed in. Why? Why was this necessary? Could they not have done what they wanted to do without the help of the light? They don't want to do anything. They just want to maintain balance. So if one force sort of loses its footing, then Nathrezim steps in and picks it back up. It is the only thing that they seem to be doing. And they do seem to be very much connected to our world. Somehow, Azeroth is a very important part of their game. And then, of course, if we go to Koresh, and the fact that twisting nether portals were opened, this gives us at least some indication that they may have been present during the fall of Koresh. And then I'll leave you with the final thought for those of you that's still doubting this theory. Who was directly responsible for Sargeras being summoned into Azeroth? And then who was responsible for Sargeras ultimately plunging his sword into Azeroth? And I think responsible might be a strong word. Who was present? Excuse me, let's put it this way. Who was present for all of these things? The very first sundering, well, second sundering actually, where Azshara tried to summon Sargeras into Azeroth. It was the Dreadlords that came through the portal first and sort of prepared the way for Sargeras. Lorthraxion was with us all throughout Legion. All throughout Legion. Lorthraxion, this very first light Nathrezim that we get to meet. Veramathras himself present within Legion, there to slow us down. Remember, the canonical saints of the raid in Legion, the final raid, I can't remember what his name was. What was it called again? What was the final raid called again? Anyways, whatever the final raid was called again, name escapes me now. The canonical story behind that, and Taurus, thank you very much. And Taurus the Burning Throne, thank you so much. The canonical reason we were there, or the canonical reason those bosses were there, is they were slowing us down while Sargeras was getting into place. There was a Nathrezim there as well. That Nathrezim did have a couple of very interesting whispers, though. Very interesting indeed. That we will definitely go back and look at some point. Varamathras, Lorthraxion, wherever you turn, no matter what it is, no matter what happens,
every single time something big happens, there is a Nathrezim not far behind. They're always somehow involved, but never in the forefront. They never exist in the leadership positions. They're just there, nudging and pushing and pulling and moving the pieces around, but they're never the victors, because they don't care about winning. They just care about the balance of all things.